Welcome everyone, my name is Rigel and today I will be giving you my personal top 15 of Eurovision 2022. Now, given that it took me almost an hour to explain my top 19 of Junior Eurovision 2021, if I had to give you my whole top 40, then that would take literally 2 hours if not more. So here I'm just gonna give you my top 15, or rather top 16, you'll see. But if you want to see my full top 40, I think I have a screenshot of my list up on Twitter, which I'll link in the description below. So if you want to see the full list, and if you want a further explanation of anything that you might be confused with in my ranking, then please just tweet me on Twitter. I'm always there. My tag is BlueRigel4, so you can always just find me there. But without further ado, let's get into some honorable, or rather dishonourable, mentions. Now, before I get into the dishonourable mentions, I'd like to say that this video, as usual, is absolutely not scripted, so please do expect some stuttering and or slurring of words. And with that said, let's get into the dishonourable mentions, which in this case are just songs that I've seen some people like very much, but I just haven't found it in myself to appreciate, and I'll be explaining my brief reasoning on them. You can certainly ask me for more detailed reasoning if you so wish, but I want to keep this short, so I'll give a brief description, and then I'll also give you my placement of them in my top 40. Starting with Norway and Malta, two songs people usually don't group together. However, the two songs have a commonality to me, which is that musically I dislike both of them, and I can't stand sitting through the whole song. So rest assured, during the semifinals and the finals, I will be muting the stream when the songs come on. And in my placement, I've put them 40th and 36th respectively. Our next group is Israel, Bulgaria, and Finland. Now, I understand that in the community, most people aren't rating the first two too highly either, and for me, I've placed them 39th and 38th. However, Finland is a clear one out because I've seen a lot of people really like the song. However, I'm just not into it. It sounds dated to me, and I was born just 1 year before the Rasmus released their hit song, so I never understood the hype. Plus, that hype never really got around to our shores anyway, so I never got the hype, and to me, it just feels dated. And if you've heard Lowry's vocals from UMK and the pre-parties, you can tell that he really doesn't sound the best. So, I can't really rate this too highly, and I've placed Finland 35th. I'll be able to sit through these, but rest assured that if I were a European or Australian viewer, I would not be giving a single point to any of these. Our next group is Azerbaijan, Denmark, and Slovenia. Now, I grouped these three together because all three have maybe they're not upbeat necessarily, but they've all got like this kind of intense element. However, while a lot of them have received some love from the community, in particular Slovenia, in recent days. They're just making no impact on me, and honestly, I don't think they're making any impact on casual viewers in May either. So, at least for me, I've placed them at the moment 34th, 33rd, and 32nd. Next, we have Moldova. Now, I've placed it 30th in my top. However, compared to some of the other songs that are higher up in my top 40, I actually wouldn't mind if this went to the finals. It's fun. It provides a much needed ethnic element or even folksy element. It makes me happy. However, the song itself really isn't that strong at all, which is why I can't really place it any higher than I have. So I wouldn't mind it qualifying. However, if it were up to me, I wouldn't have this qualify. And then just a little bit above that, we have Serbia, and by just a little bit, I mean in my placement, because I've placed Serbia at 28th in my top. Now, I understand a lot of Eurofans on Twitter are going crazy about this song, and to some extent, I do see why, Constracta a really likable figure. Her I want to say stage presence slash demeanor is undeniable, and the song really certainly does catch your attention. However, the song is also got a nice message, and it asks some really important questions about for example, the healthcare system in Serbia. My issue with this is that the transmission I don't think is particularly effective, because the song is entirely in Serbian, and I don't think Constructa is gonna change that. I have heard that she is planning to add like English translation of the lyrics in like the LED backdrop, as she's already done at several pre-parties. However, I think at least the presentation is still a little weird, and without proper explanation, casual viewers on the night and even jurors, I think, will be just confused. Like, why is she singing about Meghan Markle and washing her hands when, clearly the song means a lot more? I'm worried it's gonna become the next, Telemovish, when like fans love it for its artistic value, and then first time viewers don't really get it, and it just gets forgotten essentially. So yeah, unfortunately I can't place this any higher, because I feel like the transmission isn't really effective, and also musically it just doesn't appeal to me much at all. It's in G minor, I think, which I guess this year it just isn't a key for me, I guess. And just a little bit above that, I have Latvia. Now, I must admit this has grown on me a little bit since the national final. At that time I was convinced, like, how the hell did these guys win? Aminata's song was so clearly better. And then, at that time I had not listened to Love Injected, and when I went back to listen to a little bit of Love Injected, and I was like, okay, yeah, that was clearly better, and this is, clearly not her best effort. So I was fine with City Zeni winning Supernova. However, the song itself really still isn't that strong. Look, the guys have great stage presence. The sax solo is also great. However, the song itself is a little weak, and in particular, the chorus. In the chorus, the main vocal is a little weak. I'm not talking about the hype man, or Giannis, I think his name is. I'm not talking about the hype man. I'm talking about the main vocal singing. Being green is hot, being green is cool. That vocal is a little weak, so unfortunately, I can't place this any higher, and frankly, I wouldn't mind if this qualified, but it's in a depth slot, so whether it really can qualify is in doubt. Currently, I've placed it just at 26th place, and I think this is unlikely to change much before we get to the rehearsals, but yeah, it's just barely a non-qualifier for me. And right above that, at 25th place, I have Germany. Now, I'm almost 100% sure you don't actually care where I place Germany in my top. However, other than the countries listed here, all of the big 5 countries are in my top 15. So, I just feel like I let you know where the rest of the big 5 goes. And in the case of Germany, that's 25th place, so barely a qualifier for me. And I think in actual Eurovision, it probably will be last place, unless Ireland or I don't know, Georgia or San Marino somehow qualify. Otherwise, yeah, Germany is there. I think it's fine as a song. It can certainly do well in streaming, but yeah, it feels very derivative, especially in the rap, which many have said feels like something that would come out of Eminem or 21 Pilots. Though I do feel like, because of its more commercial nature, this probably won't get 0 points from the televote, and it probably will still be like, at the very least, like bottom 5. However, I think it can get a handful of points, maybe 20, 40, something like that. And finally, in our dishonorable mentions, we're actually getting kind of close to our top 16 now, and those are the 3 big male ballots, which are Italy, Poland, and Australia. Now, I've placed those 24th, 22nd, and 19th respectively, and the reason for that is, starting with Italy, The song is fine, however, I'm not really seeing what makes it like an amazing song according to everyone else. Um, they sing fine, however, for me, after listening to the song for a while, the falsetto in the chorus really kind of annoys me, unfortunately. And also the rap from Blanco in the second half of the song, it really just came out of nowhere, and I think just really kind of ruined the flow of the song. I can't really put it any other way. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't really place this any higher. And just FYI, 23rd place in my top is San Marino. So just if you'd like to know that. And right above that, I have Poland. Now, don't get me wrong, Okerman has an excellent voice, one of the best voices of the season. However, this song is terrible. It has, 41, 42 distinct words in the lyrics, and then, especially I think what really ruins the song for me is the chorus, really. Those drums in there, I think, really just don't fit, and just when you think the verses were building onto something good, here comes the chorus and boom, it's ruined. Absolutely ruined for me. So, yeah, unfortunately, I can't place this any higher. He has an excellent voice, but this song really just ain't it. And finally, on this dishonorable mentions list, we have Australia. Very similar case to Poland here, except the song is certainly a little more substantial. And I've seen a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, some people with Australia pretty high in their top, perhaps even top 10, top 5. But I don't know what it is, it's just not hitting me because, there are other songs higher up in my top that I can't necessarily relate to, but I still get hit very hard by them. This is not one of them, unfortunately. As many others have said, this feels like a vocal exercise for Sheldon Riley rather than an actual competitive Eurovision song. Juries will flock to this, but I fear that the televote will pay him dust. And with these dishonorable mentions out of the way, let's get into our top 16 list. Now, the reason it's a top 16 is because my original 15th place dropped to 16th place, and originally I wanted to keep it 15th for long enough until I made this video so I could tell the extremely long story I had about that song. However, I couldn't take it and I just dropped it another place. So regardless, I want to tell that story, so this is going to be a top 16 video rather than top 15, but top 16 really doesn't generate an attractive video title, does it? So either way, with that said, let's get into our number 16, which is Greece. Now, before I get into the entry, I just want to say that this is just my personal opinion. It's not gospel, it's not fact. Feel free to disagree, and feel free to leave your comments below on why you think a certain entry should be placed higher up in my top. I'm all for discussion. But with that, let's get into my number 16, Greece. That's obviously Amanda Tenfjord with Die Together. The reason it's this low, I can't get into that yet. I want to get into the story about this song. Of course, I don't know Amanda myself. I've never talked to her. Well, I've tweeted in a reply to one of her tweets, and she liked it, but nothing much beyond that. Well, basically, this goes back to December when the Greek broadcaster ERT was still selecting the Greek entry. If you've watched Greek TV around that time, and or if you followed Eurovision Fun around that time, you know that there were 5 candidates for that selection. However, most people really were only talking about 2 main ones, which were Amanda, and the other one was Good Job Nikki. And the reason these two were the 2 most talked about candidates is because well, for one, they're the most well-known indie artists in the Eurofan fandom, I guess. And secondly, these 2 were the only 2 proposals that were supported by the Dream Team. The Dream Team, of course, just being a group of Russian and Greek songwriters and stage directors who have experience with staging a lot of different acts. Their most recent ones being Sugar and what is it called? Last Dance from 2021. Yeah, the Dream Team supported these two acts, Amanda Tenfjord and Good Job Nikki, and I had gone through Good Job Nikki's discography, and I found that I liked it a lot. And since I don't even remember the last time Greece sent a solo male act to Eurovision, so I was basically team Good Job Nikki all the way. And obviously, as we now know, Good Job Nikki was not selected. And if you want to hear the song that he submitted to ERT, you can actually find it now on Spotify. It's named Heaven is Sin, I think. I think it's alright. I certainly would place it higher than Die Together, but I do agree that Die Together probably has more mass appeal. However, it's not appealing to me. Anyway, back to the story. Amanda Tenfjord was selected, and I was fine with it. I was supporting Good Job Nikki the whole time, but I do recognize that Amanda has a very good live vocal. She has proven recently with 2 acoustic performances of the song. And back to the story, though. In January, the songs for MGP were revealed. MGP, of course, being the Norwegian selection. And among those, a clear favorite of mine was Death of Us by LCB. It was and still is my favorite national final song of the 2022 season. I could go on forever about why I like that song, but a certain someone who works at or writes for Eurovision Fun, let's call him Mr. P. If you're watching this, you know who you are, but Mr. P essentially told me like Die Together has a similar vibe to Death of Us, and that I'm gonna love Die Together as well if I loved Death of Us so much. And then in February, fast forward to February, where the first leak of Die Together was posted by some Eurofans. After my experience of disappointment with Aminata's song, because it was actually like a beta version that was released before the actual national final took place. She said it was just a beta version, and then I listened to it, and the final version wasn't actually all that different, so I was disappointed there. So sticking to that principle, I decided that I wasn't gonna listen to this leak either. And then instead I just looked at other people's reactions to it, and then a bunch of people were like Athens 2023, Thessaloniki 2023, and I'm like, whoa, that sounds like it's good. And then I saw some people be like Die Together is better than Death of Us, and I was like, wait, really? Either way, after that, and another reason I didn't want to listen to the leak was that I loved Death of Us so much, I didn't want to essentially dethrone it by placing Die Together above it. And another thing that I want to point out is that did you ever notice that most people on Twitter accusing LCB of plagiarism were Greek people? And of course, we now know that that's because of Die Together having certain similarities, at least in genre, to Death of Us, and they didn't want Death of Us to have competition. Die Together to have competition. And of course that never happened, since Death of Us never made it alive out of MGP. I still listen to it a lot, but oh well, what's done is done. Anyway, now we fast forward to March, where I finally listened to the song for the first time. I opened the stream, I played it, and I'm just disappointed, really. Don't get me wrong, her voice is amazing, but these lyrics are so generic and repetitive, really, and the vocoder effect in the start, while it does certainly catch your attention, for me, it kind of just takes me off, and it's not really a song that I go back to listen to again. And for me at least, initially I placed it in my top 10 because I appreciated at least the art within the song. And obviously, again, Amanda has an excellent live vocal. However, for me, just if we're just considering the song by itself, it's just growing off of me with each passing day. So, unfortunately, I can't place this any higher. Most people who have those sad girl ballads in their tops often have this very high. But unfortunately for me, that's not the case. I've seen some commentators online saying that the song has just grown and grown on them, and that this could be a winner. And while I do probably agree with the latter bit, I wouldn't necessarily be mad if Greece won this year. And of course, this is personal taste. However, with each passing day, the song just looks more and more likely to go down in my top list rather than up, and I don't see that changing in the near future. Either way, with that said, let's get on to our actual top 15 now, with our 15th place being Estonia, and that is, of course, Hope by Stefan, and this won the national selection Eesti Laul, which is Estonian national selection. I have to admit that my favorite in the national final was not Hope. I heard that a lot of other people's favorites was Hope. However, my personal favorite was What to Make of This by Minimal Wind and Elizabeth Tiffany. And honestly, I did not have much hope, ironically, over What to Make of This. Not even the odds were saying that they would qualify, or well, when they did qualify, the odds said that they would get last place. However, much to my surprise, much to everyone's surprise, this won the jury vote at Eesti Laul, and I'm so happy about that. I really do hope Minimal Wind return to Eesti Laul soon, but I'm getting off topic. Let's get back to Hope by Stefan. Now, even at the time, even when I didn't really like the song, I do admit that Stefan had a very competent vocal performance, which he continues to have in all these pre-parties. That's one thing I think the juries will really like. Initially, I wasn't really a big fan of the song. I thought it was a little too Avicii-y, if that makes sense. However, as we know, Avicii passed away, so I guess, this is the next best thing, which I would not mind one bit. But right now, I think it's grown on me substantially. It's very anthemic, especially that I hope part. Someone mentioned in a video somewhere that, people in such tumultuous times can sing along to this. Whether they are in the arena or just at home, they can sing along to this. And again, it's very anthemic, so I think this will get a lot of televote appeal as well. And the juries will like this, like I said earlier, because, he has very strong vocal performance. The only thing that I see being an issue here is the staging. However, I have seen through some Instagram stories that Estonia's staging director this year will be none other than Jakob Tuisk, who also himself participated in Eesti Laul this year with a very well-staged song, albeit rather bland, song-wise. It was very well staged though, so I think we can expect great things for Estonia in terms of staging in Turin. And with that said, I think that the odds are currently underrating him a little bit. The odds currently have Estonia at 18th place, and personally I placed them a little higher than that, maybe somewhere in the 11th to 15th region. And the reason for that is because, very few people are mentioning the fact that in the semifinal of death this year, which is the second semifinal, Estonia is actually considered a safe qualifier. And, you don't get that a lot. You only get that with, countries like Poland or Sweden. So, being a safe qualifier in the semifinal of Deaf is something huge, and I think that's more people should be talking about Estonia as a potential top tenor. And in fact, the other day I was on Alicia Michelle's stream, and I asked her, would it be a surprise if Estonia snuck into the top 10, and she said no. And, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised seeing Estonia in the top 10 either. There's this thing where since the 2010s, they've had a tendency to enter the top 10 in the grand final every three contests. So maybe this year that will continue. I really do hope so. Stefan is a really likable guy. The song is, again, very anthemic, and I really do think this can do well in Turin. And it has to be said that in terms of genre, no song is competing with Hope this year, because you can kind of describe Hope as kind of a Western country song, was Western country pop to be more precise. And well, in terms of country songs, we do have another one, but that's not in the same semifinal. That's Mef Haikandi Sol in semifinal 1, which obviously, comes from Iceland. They're not in actual direct competition, so I think this will really stand out. And in fact, in the second half of the semifinal, I think this will really improve his chances of getting a really good result in the semifinal. And going between, I think it was North Macedonia and Romania, will really, really help it to shine and make an impression on people. So I think that this will qualify, very easily, maybe second or third. Well, maybe not second, but I think it will definitely be a top 5 qualifier in the second semifinal. And in the final, again, I wouldn't be surprised if it hit top 10, but I think top 20 or maybe even top 15 is going to be locked for Estonia this year, which is certainly much better than their performance last year in Rotterdam. And speaking of Rotterdam and coming top 20, my number 14 on this list is a country that did just that, and that is Cyprus, and that is, of course, Ella by Andromache, or Andromache, I have no idea. I've heard that Greek people say Andromache, but English people say Andromache, so I have no idea which one is correct. I don't know if there even is a correct pronunciation. Either way, she is representing Cyprus this year with the song Ella. Now, the reason I've put it here is because it sounds a lot more authentic than a lot of the previous entries sent by Cyprus. Fuego is pretty much just Latin pop, and Replay and El Diablo were also just pretty much pop girly dance pop songs. But this sounds a lot more authentically Greek, a lot more authentically Cypriot, even though ironically among the huge long list of songwriters, there was only actually one Cypriot Greek songwriter in there, which begs the question, how did they make it sound so authentic? But either way, it sounds like something that Andromache would actually, release as a single. My main gripe with it right now is that the studio cut is a little too auto-tuned in the chorus. However, she has performed an acoustic version of this at the Madrid pre-party last night, as I'm recording this. And it was pretty good. Of course, it was not in front of a crowd. It was just in a studio by herself. However, her vocal performance there was really good, and I hope that she will be able to maintain that vocal performance, in Turin. And I have seen some comments online of how this is going to be staged. I think there's going to be 2 male dancers or 4 male dancers or something like that. But there will be dancers. I assume Andromache herself will not be dancing. But right now in the odds, Cyprus is currently 17th. And honestly, I'm not surprised about that. I think this is a pretty reasonable position for Cyprus to be in. They could score higher, they could score lower, but I think right now that's pretty reasonable. It will appeal to the jury pretty well, because Again, the drama key has very good vocals, very good live vocals, and I think the televo will like it as well because it sounds very ethnically Cypriot slash Greek, and I think this is a relatively safe qualifier. It's not 100% safe, but I think it's a relatively safe qualifier. And when it gets into the final, I think, the bookmakers aren't exactly wrong about 17th. I think they could get just that, maybe a bit higher, but I would not be surprised if they were just maybe like barely in the top 15. And with that, let's get into my 13th place of the year, which is the United Kingdom. I cannot believe I'm saying this. The UK in my top 15. Who would have thought? But of course, this year the United Kingdom is represented by Sam Ryder with the song Spaceman. Now, as I understand it, there are a lot of people, particularly in Spain, who really love the song, but I do think the odds are overrating the UK a little bit. They've placed the UK currently at 4th, and I think that's simply because a lot of bookmakers for Eurovision are based in the UK, and a lot of people who put money into these bookmakers are themselves British. So I think this might just be a little bit of patriotism, or if you want to put it more in an explicit way, flag shagging. However, I do think this is a very competent entry from the UK. Certainly better than Embers, and Sam Ryder has already proven in multiple pre-parties and also a lot of promo all over the place. Before Madrid, he was in Serbia. He was doing all sorts of promo all over Europe for the song. He was performing everywhere, and I think for that reason he will do pretty well in a televote, actually, because people will have remembered that in their national television, Sam Ryder actually came on to sing the song, and I think that's why he'll do pretty well in the televote. And in the jury as well, I think they'll also like him a lot because, he can do really good high notes, though I will say his falsetto is still a little too soft, especially considering it is like kind of the highlight of the song. And speaking of the song, I think I like the genre itself isn't anything special. It's just a pop song, and it clearly takes influences from the likes of Queen or Elton John. However, I think those are popular for good reason, and I think in this case that has really helped the song to be memorable and to be liked by people like myself. Like I mentioned previously, in the bookmakers, the UK is currently 4th. I don't think they'll score that high. If they do, then good for them, but I don't see him scoring that high. In fact, I think he'll probably be somewhere between 5th and 15th. I think left side of scoreboard is pretty much guaranteed, which is a very rare thing to say for the United Kingdom these days. However, I think this will comfortably make the left side of the scoreboard, so that's always good for them. But I don't think this is quite there at the level of winner potential yet. Some have put it up as a potential winner and also potential jury winner. However, again, his falsetto needs a little bit of work. It's a little too soft still, I think. So I think that might take away a few points. But regardless, this year, I think we can all agree, whether you like the song or not, I think we can all agree that the UK will not be getting 0 points. My number 12 is one that might surprise a lot of people, especially considering I consciously decided to put this, above Greece. However, here it is anyway, and it is Romania. Now, this is Yamame by WRS, or you can also call him Urs, because his real name is Ursu, URSU. That's why his artist name is Urs. Anyway, this is Yamame by Urs. Yamame just means call me in Spanish. And honestly, like I said earlier, you might be very surprised to see this here. This song is so cheap. How did it make it this high? But the truth is, it's addictive. Like once you hear it, it's got like the same effect as in Corpore Sano. It's that you can't really get the chorus out of your head. Whether you want to or not. It's just Betis Drava and then Ola Mi Bebe all day. Anyway, yeah, it's a very addictive chorus, and now, here's the thing: a lot of people in the Romanian national selection, at least from what I saw on Twitter, were really supporting this entry called Anna or something like that. It's this rock song that personally I found to be kind of boring. However, my favorite from the start, well, this was not my favorite actually. My favorite was Regrets by Jesse. However, that got eliminated, I think, in the semifinals or something like that, or maybe it didn't even make it to the semifinals. But anyway, that was eliminated. But my second place was Yamame, and imagine my almost joy when I found out that this actually won the Romanian national selection. To me, this was one of the better songs in the selection, and I can assure you that yes, this sounds ludicrously cheap. However, again, it's addictive. I can't really get it out of my head, and it's nice to listen to as well. It's just your classic Romanian or maybe Eastern European house music, which is another thing I want to talk about in terms of qualification. Now, obviously last year, Roxanne did not qualify for the final. And I think part of that is because people don't actually expect this kind of music from Romania. Obviously Roxanne is Romanian. However, she represented Romania with, I want to say, a more like a power ballad. However, people don't usually expect that kind of sound from Romania, and I think that could be part of why she did not advance to the final, even though, in my opinion anyway, Amnesia was a good song. Objectively speaking, I think Amnesia was a better song than Yamame. However, ironically, Yamame might stand a higher chance at qualification because of expectancy. This is the kind of stuff you really expect to see from Romania. This kind of house music, electronic house music. Currently in the odds, it is actually only 38th, which honestly I'm not surprised about. It's actually higher in the qualification odds. I think it's 10th or 11th there. But the reason it's so low in the actual odds is because this is actually about the winning odds, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it that low because this song is definitely not winning Eurovision, let's face it. However, I have to say that Urs performs the song pretty well. He was introduced on the Eurovision site as a professional dancer, so it's no wonder he actually performs a song live very well while dancing at the same time. And to be fair, it's not really a vocally demanding song, but he performs it very well, and I really like the performance. Honestly, I don't think they really need to change a whole lot for Turin. Will this qualify? I don't know. I hope it does. But I also wouldn't be surprised nor disappointed if it doesn't. It is a cheap sounding song, and maybe the public will respond negatively to that, or positively. I have no idea at the moment. However, if it qualifies, I don't see this doing very well in the final. At best, I don't know, maybe bottom 10, bottom 5, something like that. It is not making it into the top 10. Definitely not. It is worth noting, though, that in terms of genre, Romania doesn't really have too much competition. Like, well, obviously it will have competition in the final, but in the semi-final, its only real competition, many have said, is Israel. And, well, Israel is in the death slot, plus many in the Eurofan community have agreed that Romania probably has a stronger song than Israel, and is coming later, so obviously Romania will have the edge in that respect, and I think this might be able to bump up its qualification chances even more. But of course, let's just see what happens on the night. Again, I wouldn't be surprised nor disappointed if this doesn't go through, because after all, this is the semi-final of death. But with that said, let's get into my number 11, which is Portugal. And of course, Portugal this year will be represented by Mauro with the song Saudade Saudade. Now, to be honest, this was not my winner of Festival da Canção either. My favorite, I think, back then was Cyro with the song Ainda Nos Temos. However, this was the song that won the national selection, and in fact, the day before that was charting in Portuguese Spotify charts. So I'm not actually all that surprised at this one. And at the time, I was pretty skeptical of the song because one view that I still hold to this day is that the melody in the chorus is a little weird. It doesn't resolve properly. And if it did, I probably would have placed Portugal higher in my top. However, the chorus melody is a little weird to me. And also, the melody itself, like the rhythm and stuff, is a little weird. The clapping doesn't really match up to the rhythm of the song. Like, I think it's either 3/4 or 6/8 time signature, but I'm not sure really how to clap to this still, because the melody does not really fit the clapping, at least I think. However, the message is very important. It doesn't necessarily relate to me, but it is very important and very personal to Mauro. So I really do appreciate that, and I do appreciate the way that she expressed it, and it's very attention grabbing, if you will, because in the national final she just performed it while sitting on chairs with 4 other backup singers, and it grabs your attention. You're wondering what they're doing, and I think in that regard it has some degree of televote appeal. And she sings really well. Her voice is very soothing, very unique, and for that I think juries will reward it as well. And so I think Portugal can definitely qualify for the grand final. I'm not gonna say it's 100% because Portugal this year is 10th in the first semifinal, and the last time a song qualified from 10th was Equinox in 2018, for Bulgaria. So I'm not very hopeful, but I do think Portugal has a strong enough song to advance to the final. And right now in the odds, it's actually 11th. I'm not sure I put it that high. I like the song. Again, hell, I even have Portugal as my 11th. However, I don't think this has enough mass appeal to really strike a chord with the audience and jurors. So I think this will probably qualify. In my little prediction that I made initially, I think Portugal did qualify in my prediction. Well, I'm not going to show the prediction, but because it's changing every day. But in my prediction, Portugal does qualify. However, it only gets maybe around like bottom 5, unfortunately. I really hope that doesn't happen. Maybe Portugal does have what it takes to turn this into an actual 11th placer. We'll see. And with that, we get into my personal top 10. And my 10th place is Lithuania. Now, Lithuania, of course, will be represented by Monica Liu with the song Sentimente. And she won her national final, that is Pabandomish Naujo. During which my favorite was not actually Monica Liu. A lot of people liked her, don't get me wrong, particularly on Twitter, and they still do, but my favorite from the Lithuanian national final was probably Ruda Loop with the song Call Me From the Cold. I do believe that she will come back to the national final maybe in a few years and just absolutely blow everyone away. I think her performance was great there. However, I guess this year just wasn't her year. Either way, Monica Liu won the national final, and at first when I listened to the song, it wasn't really clicking for me. But it grew on me. It definitely grew on me. Monica Liu certainly has excellent stage presence, from every way, like from the way she looks at the camera, the way she moves around, even the way she wiggles her fingers. It's all very fascinating, and I think for that reason, this will generate some intrigue with casual viewers at home. It's in the first semifinal is coming after Latvia, which of course is a much higher energy song. This is a comparatively much more chill, much more jazzy kind of song, which will definitely help it to stand out. And it's coming before Switzerland, which is an even slower song that people might find boring. So this will definitely stand out in its position, in third. Now, I haven't looked up the qualification odds for third place. I have looked up 10th because last year Albina from Croatia was of course 10th, and she didn't qualify, but I haven't looked up third place. Either way, statistically it's not an amazing place for countries to qualify. However, I do think Lithuania has what it takes to qualify this year, because I must remind you, last year in third place in the first semifinal was actually Russia with Malaysia. Of course, Russia has its geopolitical allies. However, I think Lithuania can also qualify from the third place as well, simply because I think the song is strong enough. In a lot of people's predictions, this is either a borderline qualifier or a borderline non-qualifier. And the reason for the latter is simply because they already have 10 songs that can have a good chance of qualification. But I think this will qualify, maybe just barely scrape through. I think juries will really go for this, but maybe the public won't as much. However, I think they will still give it enough points to qualify. And I really hope she does, because she's a really nice person. She's demonstrated her vocal to be really good, almost or pretty much never off pitch when she's sang at pre-parties and stuff. So I really do hope she qualifies. And actually, looking at the odds, I think she's getting underrated a little. She's been placed at 37th, and personally I think maybe Lithuania should be around 20th or so, or 20 something at least, because I think that if/when Lithuania does qualify for the grand final, that will be a position that Lithuania could take in the grand final, because juries might have moved on to some other songs, and I'm not sure this will get enough televote support to really, it's not exactly screaming televote magnet, is it? So, this might get forgotten in the grand final, but I think, given Lithuania's track record, I think qualifying twice in a row is already pretty good. This could shock people and maybe place randomly somewhere in the top 10. I would love to see it. However, I'm not, realistically seeing it. We already know that the UK televote will probably give 12 to Lithuania because they have a very strong voting diaspora there in the UK and possibly in Ireland as well. However, other than that, I don't see a whole lot of points coming from different countries. Again, I really hope Lithuania does well. I love this song. Well, I don't love the song necessarily, but I love Monica Liu as a person, her stage presence, everything. But yeah, she performs very well, and I really do hope this qualifies. And then in ninth place, we have a song that is very relevant to the current situation and has also generated some degree of controversy on Twitter, and it is Ukraine. Now, in my notes here, I have told myself to mention the national final for the song if applicable. However, in this case, I think I just want to shut up about it. Let's just not talk about it and move on, and maybe just talk about the song itself. And of course, the song is Stefania, to be performed by Kalush Orchestra, sometimes also known as just Kalush. From my first listen, in fact, you can actually find this on my Twitter, where I have this like national finals Twitter thread. From first listen, I loved it. However, now it's kind of grown off me a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. And mainly that's because the live vocal is a little bit lacking, and even though that has certainly improved, in pre-parties and stuff, my main issue with it still is that the performance is kind of cringy. Let's face it. There's not much like camera awareness. Most of the time when they're not singing or rapping, they're just bopping around, which for if you're just like a member of the audience, that's fine, but you are performing on the stage and you're bopping around to the song. I think it's just a little cringy to me. Again, zero camera awareness, which I think is an issue. It doesn't make for a great show, even though the song is a huge bop. The performance for me kind of ruins it a little bit. This will be a huge televote magnet, even without the current situation. It's an upbeat song in a year where most of the front runners are lower key songs, or maybe just outright ballads. In a year where there's so many ballads, this is bound to stand out with its blend of traditional style and hip hop. I think this is gonna stand out very easily, and the televote will vote for this in flocks, even if we take the current situation out of the equation. And even if you put that in, then it's only gonna increase even more. So I would not be surprised if Ukraine won the televote both in the semi-final and in the final, and obviously they're gonna qualify, like, no doubt. Come on. I just don't know how well this will do with the jury. Rap historically has not done very well with juries at Eurovision, so no one really knows how well that will do there, and some might even argue this is less accessible than something like Shoom, so juries might rate it even lower in that regard. But we also must remind ourselves that jury members are also human, so they could vote for this out of, I hate to say it, but sympathy. And I think there's going to be the question of whether this might win the competition due to sympathy votes. Of course, this really hasn't happened previously because in 2014, obviously, Crimea was annexed by Russia. However, Ukraine didn't win Eurovision 2014, and in fact, Russia only went on to do really well in Eurovision 2015. So, you can't really say there was a sympathy vote going on there, because if there was, then Ukraine would have won 2014, but they didn't. And going further back, in 1994, Bosnia and Herzegovina debuted in Eurovision, but it was a very tumultuous year because during that time the Bosnian War was going on. They were literally being invaded as the singer had to practically run to the airport to actually arrive in the venue in, I think, Ireland. And there they didn't win either. They only got, I think, something in the double digits, in terms of placement. So there is historical precedent that they might not necessarily win the contest due to quote-unquote sympathy votes. However, I think, at least in this case where the event has raised worldwide attention, I think there is cause to look out for that here. Though I wouldn't be too concerned about it personally. With that said, let's get into my number 8, which is Ireland. Now, of course, Ireland this year will be represented by Brooke with the song That's Rich. And I feel like most people have that one song that no one else puts in their top 10, but they really enjoy for some reason. I've seen this with Slovenia, Iceland, Israel, North Macedonia, all sorts, and for me, that song would be Ireland. I know that most people have this, between 30 to 40 in their top 40 list, and I don't blame them. On first listen, it is a rather weak song, I think. However, I really do enjoy it. And the song isn't really vocally demanding. She's not having to do any particular really high notes or anything. So I think she's doing fine at the pre-parties. So yeah, I think that her stage presence is great. Her attitude and sass in the song and performance, I think that's great as well. And other than Lithuania, I think this is really the main country that I'm rooting for to qualify. Um, Maybe Lithuania is a little bit borderline. However, I think Ireland is much, much, much more borderline. So I'm really cheering for Ireland. I'm cheering for Brooke. I want her to qualify because this whole Eurovision season so far she's been great. She lost her passport in Barcelona, and then she missed her graduation, and then just like a few days ago, the Rube thought she was singing for the actual Kremlin instead of that one gay club in Belfast. So yeah, just so much has happened to her. I think she deserves to qualify at this point. I don't know if she will. The running order isn't terrible, to be honest. Like I said, with Portugal, it's been a while since a country qualified in 10th. However, I do think it is technically possible. Ireland this year is coming after Cyprus. Cyprus is, like I said earlier, more low key, more chill, and this is more upbeat, more fun, and is coming before North Macedonia, which I hate to say it, is basically DOA. So, coming before a DOA song certainly helps to make it stand out and potentially make people vote for it. I'm not sure it will. I really hope it does. But if it does, it would have to be, the Irish delegation would have to nail the staging, nail the camera angles and lighting and pretty much everything just to qualify. And indeed, Brooke has said in an interview that her goal this year is just to qualify because, semifinal 2 is the semifinal of death, and there are several songs that are currently like really borderline, one of which is actually Ireland, believe it or not. Though I think a lot of people agree on the fact that among the songs that are borderline, I'd say they agree that Ireland is one of the weaker ones. I don't agree. But again, I enjoy the song and I would really love to see it go to the final. Speaking of the final, though, I'm not sure it's going to do very well in the final. At best, I think bottom 10, or more realistically, bottom 5, because there simply are better songs to vote for, and I don't see this getting a lot of love either from the juries or from the televote. So yeah, I want this to qualify very much. However, I do think it's rather unlikely. Again, I would be over the moon if they qualified, but yeah, they would not do very well in the grand final, surely. So in semifinal 1, I'll be cheering for Lithuania to qualify, and for semifinal 2, I'll be cheering for Ireland to qualify. Ironically, I'm not particularly concerned about qualification for my number 7. Not because it's a safe qualifier, in fact, quite the opposite. However, if it doesn't qualify, I wouldn't really be disappointed. But with that said, let's find out my number 7 of Eurovision 2022, which is Austria. Now, Austria this year is coming with something very different from what they sent last year. Obviously last year they sent Vincent Bueno with the song Amen, which is this kind of ballad type song. Obviously it didn't do particularly well. It failed to qualify, was slightly borderline, but it did regardless fail to qualify. But this year they've come with a song that many have regarded to be much more credible, and much stronger, and that is Halo by Lumix and Pia Maria. Now, as I understand it, in the internal selection, there was one main competitor, which was Anger, I think they're called, with the song Das Mir. And that song is out now. You can go listen to it on Spotify, I think. And it's in English, German, and Italian, which is very interesting. I haven't actually listened to it myself, but I checked the lyrics, and it's a trilingual song. How often do you get that in Eurovision? Anyway, back to Halo, though. I think, compared to Amen, I think I certainly prefer this much more. At first I was like really excited for this because it's this like high energy, kind of electronic dance pop song, and I do still like it a lot. Obviously I have it 7th in my top. However, it has mellowed out a little bit, I guess. Partly because the more I listen to the studio cut, the cheaper it sounds. I don't know why, it just does. And partly because Pia Maria's vocals haven't been shown to be particularly reliable, let's say. She didn't actually sing in the London Eurovision party. At Tel Aviv, she put on the now pretty much infamous performance of the song, and she performed it again in Amsterdam, I think, at Eurovision in concert, and certainly that was better, though it must be noted that the backing track was turned up quite significantly, though in some inflections and stuff you could tell that she was actually singing live, and it certainly improved because she wasn't moving around as much, and it allowed her to get her breathing in order, I guess. So it is improving. I've been told, well, not I've been told, it was announced by the one of the ORF scouts that they have gotten a vocal coach for Pia Maria, so maybe they will improve her vocals enough in these few weeks to put on a proper show in Turin, and maybe they will qualify that way. Though I will say that in terms of production, I do really like the studio cut a lot, especially the hand clapping section. That is a little cliche now in Eurovision terms. However, for this song, I think it does fit. It really gets the crowd going. Even people at home can clap to this very simple beat, and it is in fact the fastest song of the season. I think it's like 230 something BPM, which is insane. And it's also much shorter than most Eurovision songs. It's only like 2 minutes 30, something like that. However, it does still retain this usual pop structure, which I do like, and as a studio cut, I think is pretty solid. And if Pia Maria does manage to nail the vocals in the semifinal, and also perhaps in the final if she qualifies in Turin, then I think this could be in for a pretty good result for Austria. This might qualify, this might not. At the moment it's actually 28th in the overall odds. I think part of that is because of the performance at Tel Aviv. However, I think in the end, if Austria qualifies to the grand final, I think they will get somewhere between 10th and 20th, which compared to their previous performance from last year is pretty damn good. But yeah, if Pia Maria's vocals in Turin flop just like they did in Tel Aviv, then Austria can say goodbye to the final, and I wouldn't feel bad about it. This kind of reminds me of Czech Republic from last year. Of course, last year Czech Republic was represented by Benny Cristo with the song Omaga, and the studio cut is great, and once in a while I still listen to it, and I think it's in my top 15 of my 2021 top. In terms of studio cut, of course, but the live performance was a disaster. I'm sorry, it was just terrible, and perhaps it was that disastrous live performance that caused them to do this live on tape thingy for the national final. Anyway, back to Halo though. I think if Pia Maria does mess up the vocals on the night in Turin, I think even if you have a stellar studio cut, I don't think you deserve to pass to the final, because you're expected to deliver the song live, and if you can't do that, then I don't think anyone will reward you any points. So if Austria wants to advance to the final, then they really need to beef up Pia Maria's vocals, and perhaps in a month I'll look back in this and see whether they did or not. But now let's go back to the Czech Republic, because my number 6 is precisely the Czech Republic. Now, of course, the Czech Republic this year will be represented by Dami, or We Are Dami, with the song Lights Off after they won their national selection ESCZ, or Eurovision Song CZ. Of course, my favorite in that national final was not Lights Off, but rather Yazinki. I think, if you follow me on Twitter around December, you'll have seen how much I was practically raving about that song, and I still listen to it once in a while nowadays. I don't actually use Spotify all that much, but I still listen to it once in a while, and it's probably one of my favorite national final songs to date. Either way, that didn't win, but I think Lights Off was my second place in the national final. And then when it won, I told myself that okay, it won. It's a fine track. I think it's probably gonna drop down lower into my top. And well, 4 months later, it's in sixth place. Simply just because I enjoy this more than a lot of other songs in the season. Now, the odds actually currently have the Czech Republic at 33rd place, which I think is massively underrating them. I've heard some people on Twitter say that their vocals, or well, Dominica's vocals were bad, but I think they were fine actually. She did genuinely have technical issues with a lot of the pre-parties, and pre-parties aren't really the best places to show vocals necessarily, because often a lot of them have sound issues and stuff. So I think her vocal performance was fine. The revamp I don't really think was needed. It removed some of my favorite parts actually. However, the song itself is still very well produced, very sleek, and I still like it a lot. And I think if she pulls off the vocal flawlessly on the night, I think this will have a good amount of jury appeal, and Televote will surely love this, because not only is it ending, or at least closing, the semifinal, this is an upbeat song which will definitely get everyone's attention after going after Sweden. So I think this will have good enough appeal from both the jury and the Televote to qualify, and I will be very pleased about that. And in the final, I'm not sure how this will do. This might get like 10th to 20th, or it might get bottom 5. I'm really not sure, but I do really like the track, and I do hope it advances to the final. And from here we go from the closer of semifinal 2 to the opener of semifinal 1, because the first entry in my top 5 is Albania, which this year will be Ronella Hayati with the song Secret. Now in a lot of Eurofans' heads, Albania is always the first country to select their song, but obviously this year we had Czech Republic and Bulgaria, and maybe this is the reason why Fix 60 turned out to be a success for our ethnic pop singer right here. And I'm really happy that she won Fix 60. I think there was a lot of people who really liked Feye. However, his live vocals were kind of a flop. And I'm really glad that Ronella Hayati won, because she had the best voice, she had the best stage presence, she put on the best show. There was like an army of dancers with her. That was crazy. Obviously she can't replicate that in Turin. However, I think it will still be a really good show, and the fact that the EBU put them to open the first semi-final, I think goes to show that the EBU has trust in them to pull off some really good staging. And for that reason, I think Albania will also get a better running order slot in the final this year, not just second in the final. And oh yeah, she is absolutely qualifying. There's pretty much no doubt about that. The odds are currently placing Albania 24th, and for some reason I think they're always underrating Albania. I think last year they put Albania like last place in the qualification odds, but Angela qualified quite comfortably, and I think this year they're underrating Albania again, because I think they can pull top 15 in the final, if not top 10 even. This could be Albania's best result in years, and maybe this could even beat out Albania's previous best result with Zeus. I doubt it, but it's definitely possible, because this year her only quote-unquote direct competition would probably be Spain, but even then these are very different in genre. Secret is more ethnic, but Slow-mo is more like just modern Latin pop, so I don't think there's too much of a conflict there, and I think both can do well in their own right. The televote love this kind of ethnic stuff, and also juries will vote for this a lot as well, because Ronella Hayati has proven time and again that she has really good, almost spot on vocals, especially with that high note, which is like, whoa. Yeah, so I think juries and Televo will both love this, so I think this can come very comfortably top 15. But beyond that, we'll just have to see what the competition is and what other countries will juries and televote vote for. But regardless, I think this is comfortably qualifying, and yeah, Albania are on set for a very good result this year, I think. Oh, and the revamp, I tend to think that it didn't really make the song much worse or better because, it did make it a little less ethnic in a way. There's more English in the song, of course. Not that there was any English before, but there is a bunch of English now, though not as much as I was expecting. But that said, the song is more cohesive now and does not just sound like a demo track that was thrown together in about 5 minutes. Yeah, so I think it definitely improved in terms of cohesiveness, but we maybe lost a little bit of Albanian lyrics in there. But yeah, overall, I don't think the revamp really made it much worse or better, and I think it's still a really, really solid track and a really good effort from Albania this year. And speaking of ethnic, our next track, aka number 4 in my top 15, is nothing short of ethnic. Plus, it has a really modern touch and it's a huge bop, and I really enjoy listening to this one, and it is France. Now, France this year will be represented by the song Fulen, sung by Alvan and Ahez. By the way, Ahez are the 3 women, while Alvan is the guy. So, yeah. They won the national final Sevuki Deside, during which there was another huge fan favorite, which was Seul by Soa. A lot of Euro fans liked it as well, but frankly, I really never saw what made it so attractive, to be honest. It's fine as a track, but it wouldn't have placed particularly high in my top. But this I really like. It's like I said earlier, it's ethnic, but it's also really modern. It's this like blend of ethnic and electro pop. And I really like this blend, and in particular because it's actually sung in the Breton language, which only about 200,000 people in France, in the Brittany region of France, speak. And I think it's just really special that France this year is bringing something very different to last year, while still bringing very high quality stuff. It goes to show France's musical versatility. One year they can send a very, quintessential French chanson, and then the year after that they can send this Breton language electropop song, and it just shows their range essentially. And truth be told, I wasn't really the biggest fan of Voila last year. I know a lot of people really liked it, but for me, it felt a little too French, but this is very left lane coming out of France, and I really, really enjoy it. In fact, sometimes when I listen to my Eurovision playlist, like the one that I made for myself, I often start with Fulen because, it's just a song that gets you in a really great mood, and you just want to dance along to it, just like Secret. Of course, different kinds of dancing. Of course, this kind of dancing is more like Alvan style dancing. He just tweeted today as I'm recording this that bouncing is good for your health or something like that, and I absolutely agree. This song is a great song to bounce to, and yeah, I really just enjoy listening to this track. I don't know how well it will do at Eurovision. Obviously, Televo will also really like this kind of stuff, as they did with Shum. I don't know how well the juries will respond to this, and as a result, I think this definitely will not repeat the success of Voila. However, the bookmakers put France 13th, and honestly, I think I would agree with that. I think France are still looking at the very least, a top 15, maybe a top 10, and I think they can be very proud of that after their not so good results earlier in the last decade. From France, we move to another neighboring Big Five country, which, if you told me from last year that I would place this country in my top 3, I would laugh at you. And that country is Spain. Now, obviously, Spain will be represented by the song Slow Mo, sung by Chanel, and she won the national final at Benidorm Fest, which was just a new national final that the Spanish delegation decided to start. And voting system aside, I think it was done really well. It almost felt like its own mini Eurovision. You know, it had postcards and everything. It had a proper stage, proper lighting, proper camera angles, everything. It seemed extremely professional, and if Spain wins this year, I think next year will be a really good year in terms of hosting, because while yes, they do not have the best English in the world, the technology used in Benidorm Fest was really advanced, really clean. And in fact, fun fact, did you know that the Spanish dictionary is the only one that officially contains the word Eurofan? And it also has the word Eurovisivo, which means something like Eurovision E, or something pertaining to Eurovision, basically. So, I think the Spanish dictionary is the only one to do that, which is kind of insane. But getting back on topic here, we're talking about Slow Mo, which some Spaniards are still complaining about it winning Benidorm Fest. However, I think this was a really good winner, and the jury made a very good choice here. Many have said that it sounds quintessential Spanish, and I think I would agree. It sounds like something that would come out of Spain. Of course, it was not actually written by a majority of Spanish songwriters. In fact, mostly the songwriters were American, some of them maybe even Cuban. However, they did successfully blend English and Spanish together very well to create a song with a very Latin flavor, and given that Chanel was actually born in Cuba, I think this really fits her. And even though she did not write the song, I think she performs it really, really well. And one thing that I said after she won Benidorm Fest, and I will continue to stick to this, is that the song itself is at best a 7 out of 10. It sounds pretty generic. It just sounds like any old pop that you might hear on the radio. However, it just works when you see the performance. The performance, I think, is pretty much an 11 out of 10. It was performed really well at Benidorm Fest, all the camera angles and everything. And you have to remember that Chanel is also a professional actress and also performs in all sorts of plays and stuff. So she already has a really good advantage there in terms of stage presence, and you can feel that through the camera. So I think the performance is almost hypnotizing. It has gotten a lot of views on YouTube and all sorts of other places. If you watched my iceberg video, you'll know that one of Chanel's fan cams actually reached 3 million views alone just on Twitter. And this is something I think that will really attract the attention of the public, because it's radio friendly, it's a bop, and it's something that people have been wanting from Spain for ages. Again, this sounds really Spanish, and it's upbeat, it's fun, and especially in a year like this, it's not like 2021 when we had pop girlies all over. This year we only really have Spain and like our aforementioned Albania, which are in the competition as pop girlies, and I think this will really stand out a lot, and especially considering all the other major contenders to win are slower songs, more low-key, more sad songs, and this will really bring the spirits up. And mark my words, I think this can win the televote. I don't think it will necessarily, because Ukraine is right there, but I think this can win the televote. This has really great mass appeal. And I think that juries will also like it as well, because remember, juries are, some of them at least, are singers, and they really understand how hard it is to sing and dance at the same time, and what a brilliant dance at that. So I think at least on that basis, juries will not underrate this at all. And the performance just screams professionalism, and juries always appreciate a bit of professionalism, and I think they'll also give points with that as well. So I think honestly we could be looking at Spain as a potential winner, and I think those media outlets that discuss Spain as a potential winner are absolutely right to do so, despite Eurofan skepticism on Twitter. Currently, Spain is 6th in the odds. However, I have seen in some bookmakers that Spain has actually overtaken Poland and has entered the top 5 in the odds, and I think that's very well deserved. And I think Spain can very easily come top 5 in Turin, actually. And even if it doesn't break Spain's longest running record of time since the last win at 52 years, I think this will nevertheless generate a result that Spaniards can be very proud of, and I hope that they can improve year after year. Or, maybe we can get Barcelona 2023, who knows. With that said, let's move into my second place of Eurovision 2022, which, just like Spain, also got 0 points from the televote in Eurovision 2021 in Rotterdam. I'm almost 100% sure that they will not get 0 points from the televote this year, and that country is the Netherlands. Of course, they were the host country of Eurovision 2021, and unfortunately they did not do so well there. However, this year it looks like they are coming back really, really strong. Of course, this year they will be represented by S10 with the song De Diepte, which translates in Dutch as the depth or the deep places, basically. And I really like this track. I've seen it high in a lot of people's tops, and she's already demonstrated in multiple occasions that she can sing live very well. And just today I saw an article that she is not planning to use the laser staging that she had on that one talk show that she performed on. It will be different, but I think it will still be good given that the Netherlands has nailed the staging in recent years, and I think this year will be no exception. They will go back to their powerhouse era after a brief blip in their host country era. So I think this song is really strong, and I think it was really smart of S10 to put a lot of these like ooh ah da 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 kind of sounds in the song, because it's in Dutch, and obviously other than Belgians, Europeans don't generally speak Dutch. However, they can still sing along to this. And it's a very memorable chorus as well, even if you don't sing along. So I think this will stick around in the minds of televoters. And, again, like I said earlier, S10 already has proven to have very good live vocals. So jurors will definitely latch on to that and give her very good points. So honestly, I could actually see her win the first semifinal. Maybe not win the contest outright. There is greater competition in the grand final. However, I think if not Ukraine, then I think the Netherlands can genuinely win the first semi-final, and I wouldn't be mad about that one bit. In terms of the song itself, genre-wise, it isn't particularly new. We already have a couple of other sad girl songs this year. It's a little more indie, but overall it still follows like the traditional structure of kind of a pop ballad, though at the end it's there's no like one breakthrough moments or anything like that. It just quiets down near the end. And I really like it, even though it's in Dutch, because the song is actually really personal. It talks about S10's I read about this somewhere. I may be wrong, but I read about this, that allegedly the song is actually about her boyfriend, who apparently died in a car crash. And if you remember those bits in the music video where there's like some parts on her arm and her face that are like glowing, those actually represent kind of her boyfriend living on inside her, even though he has passed away. So I think that's really impactful, and even again for people who don't speak Dutch, I think this will still be really a moment on stage, really. And I think this will qualify very easily for the final, which is very good, because in recent years the Netherlands has not sent a lot of Dutch language songs, and I believe the last time they did was 2009, during which they did not qualify for the final. But this year I think they will qualify very comfortably. juries will flock to this song, I think, and the public will also connect to this really well. So I think this has no issue going to the final at all. And currently, the odds have placed the Netherlands at ninth. I think that's actually a pretty good placement. I think that if the staging is done very well, then this could be another top 10 result for the Netherlands, and maybe even top 5. Who knows? I would love to see it. The only issue I might see with this is that some people, particularly first time viewers, might view the song as a little boring, a little dragging. However, all across Eurofan Twitter, I've seen all sorts of people with all sorts of different tastes really come together to admire this song, essentially. Even people who might have more out there choices will usually have this quite high in their top as well. So I think this can really easily connect with people, and again, this will easily qualify, and I think the Netherlands is looking at yet another top 10 result, which is very good for them, in the Dutch language no less. Now we move from one sad girl song to another sad girl song, and if you've seen me on Twitter or any amount of time during the last month or so, I think you know who this is. This should not surprise you one bit, and my winner of Eurovision 2022 is Sweden. Now, I cannot say enough good things about this song, and of course, Sweden this year will be represented by the song "Hold Me Closer" by the singer Cornelia Jacobs, and let me just start off by talking about my experience last year with Eurovision 2021. Now, last year, obviously, I wasn't on here. I had only really discovered Eurovision maybe like 2 days before the final in Rotterdam, and but even back then I had this sense that I didn't like manufactured Swedish pop, which is what Tusa brought to Rotterdam. And at that time, after they got a mid-table result, I told myself, let's pray for Sweden to send some more manufactured male sung pop, and maybe they'll not qualify for a second time and then finally learn their mistake. And then this year out comes this song, one of my favorites from the national final season, and my winner of Eurovision 2022, which absolutely will not change one bit. Even if they don't win Eurovision 2022, they'll have won in my eyes. This song is just brilliant. It's not really inventing anything new necessarily, but this is taking an already working formula and then taking it to the next level. There are some people out there who don't really see the charm in the song and think it's just another manufactured pop song from Sweden. However, I think this is really special because for the first time in ages, Sweden is bringing a song where the actual singer of the song actually took part in writing the song. In particular, the story is actually about Cornelia herself. She had to break up with a previous boyfriend, I think it was, despite her very much lesbian look. Her last ex was a boyfriend, but whatever. This is about a personal experience with an ex, and she wrote about that, and she's singing about it, which makes it all the more personal, all the more important, and I think this will really connect with people. Obviously, juries already really love Sweden usually, and I think that usually at least in the past couple years, especially with songs like Dance You Off, the public doesn't really connect with it because it feels, too manufactured. However, here there's very visible authenticity with the song, and I think the public will really grasp onto that, and especially considering the melody isn't very complex, it will stay in the heads of many people very easily, and another good thing about this compared to some of the automatic qualifiers is that it has to go through a semi-final, which will expose the song to a lot of people, and since this to some extent is kind of a song, kind of a grower of a song, I think that will really benefit it because it will get people more used to it, get people more like feeling the mood of the song, and as a result, this could do rather well in the televote as well. I don't think this will win the televote. If it did, that would be awesome. But again, Spain and Ukraine are right there, so I don't think Sweden is really a candidate to win the televote. However, I think this can do really well in the televote, and combined with their already usually good performance with the juries, I think Sweden really is going for its 7th win this year. I have seen some people on Twitter say that people are quote unquote overrating Sweden just because it's Sweden. But in reality, as I understand it, I haven't been here for very long, but as I understand it, Eurofan Twitter usually is very critical of Sweden. So to see Eurofan Twitter take to Sweden like this is actually really rare, and I think that could provide it its winning edge. And even in 2015, I think not many people took to Mons and Heroes, and even that one. And so imagine the impact on the public when this comes out in the semifinal. And speaking of the semifinal, it is currently, I think, first in the odds to qualify and to win the semifinal, which I'm not surprised about. It's Sweden, it's obviously going to qualify, and it's also, I think, most people who put money on it will view the song as one of the strongest in the semifinal, if not the strongest in the semifinal. So yeah, it's not really surprising that people will think that Sweden will win the semifinal, especially considering that I think even the EBU knows that Sweden is coming strong this year, because they put Sweden second to last, which, if I'm being honest, I think is probably better than coming last, in terms of running order. So yeah, I think even the EBU knows that Sweden is coming strong this year and has accordingly given them a very good running order position. So when they get to the final, how will they do? Like I said earlier, I think they are going for the 7th win, tied with Ireland, and I would not complain one bit. Especially considering the year after that, SVT really does know how to host Eurovision, and in such tumultuous times, I guess, one of the better and more reliable hosts would be Sweden. Though I have seen some people support Spain or the UK over Sweden this year, simply because those broadcasters have not hosted Eurovision in a long time, and just kind of want to give it back to them, while SVT already hosted Eurovision in 2016. So I don't know, I still think it's if we're just judging by the song, I think that Sweden has come with the most convincing and the most publicly accessible proposal. It's got its own kind of sophisticatedness to it, if that's a word even. It kind of feels sophisticated and artsy, even though it's still very much accessible. It's a chorus that is pretty standard of pop these days. However, I think what really, really elevates this is that Cornelia has this raspy voice, which some dissenters have said that it's just her failing to sing, but in reality, this is just her normal way of singing, and in fact, I think it makes it even more special because, it tells people that it's not just any other old love song. It's a song written by and performed by Cornelia Jacobs. It's a song that she composed herself, well, partly by herself, and she's just essentially telling her own story, and I think that is really, really special. And again, like I said, juries will love the voice, and especially her higher notes in the last chorus, and I think her performance of the song at Melfest was also really special. Like, if we look at the winners from the last decade, one thing that Loreen and Emily de Forest had in common was that they performed barefoot. Obviously, in terms of genre, the songs are very different, but it seems like barefoot women are a very successful formula in Eurovision, and to me at least, it seems like Cornelia Jacobs is about to continue that trend. This song is very special. It does not need like sophisticated staging. I'll be honest, I don't understand the green circle, but I have read somewhere that apparently, the green, white, and red isn't just the colors of the Italian flag, subliminal messaging, etc., but also it was the colors that Cornelia herself had actually envisioned when writing the song, which is why they were displayed here on this circle thing. Again, I still don't understand it, but in a Wee Wee Blog's live stream, she did say that she will be bringing the green circle to Turin, so, be prepared for that. Again, I don't think this particularly needs like sophisticated LEDs like maybe Mons did with Heroes. This doesn't need a lot of staging at all. And in fact, this has already made a huge impact in some countries, particularly in Spain. If you saw some of the footage from the pre-party in Madrid, you will know that after Cornelia finished performing her song, she tried to sing the chorus of the song with the fans, and they essentially just sang it on their own without any guidance from Cornelia, essentially. And I think that really shows the impact Hold Me Closer has had on Spain, and I think it's a very universal tune. I don't know if I want to say anthemic, however, it's a very universal tune that regardless of where in Europe someone comes from, they can very much enjoy. I've also seen very positive feedback coming from the UK and Ireland, and also in one video in Instagram from Francesca Montanaro, which is the designer of the stage in Turin. Someone was filming basically the surroundings of the stage and construction, and also one particular builder who also noticed the camera and was like singing Hold Me Closer to the camera, even though he didn't really know much of the lyrics. And I guess this just really shows the impact on people north and south, east and west. I think there's a very universal sound in there that I think will really resonate with particularly people that are older, but also I think depressed teens like a lot of us in the Eurofan community. This really hits hard, even if we haven't had such kinds of right one wrong time kind of relationships before. This really still does hit hard, and musical experts in the jury will also appreciate, I think, the very wonderfully written lyrics, as opposed to, at least in my view, as opposed to Greece. And also, obviously, the delivery of the song is very, very unusual as well compared to some of Sweden's previous entries. So I think this will get a good amount of 12 points. I'm thinking at least getting 12, at least definitely from Australia, almost all of the Nordics, I think. And I think, again, a lot of countries will give points, and I think that's really what matters in terms of what you want in a winning entry. You don't just want 12 points, you want everyone to give points, and I think this kind of song is really, it really has what it takes to get those points from everyone. I saw two commentators recently say that this just sounds like a winner, and I think I agree with them on this. And in this case, I think I will be really, really, really happy with Sweden winning. I don't know if Sweden will reach 500 points to win. Maybe they could, maybe they can't, but regardless, I think they will definitely get 400 plus. And I think the situation, they could technically, theoretically pull a Salvador Sobral and get like 700 points or something like that. However, I don't think the competition is that narrow this year. In 2017, many considered it to just be, Portugal versus Bulgaria. But this year, I think is a lot wider, and even in terms of just sad girl songs, it's already a much wider range of choices for jurors to choose from and for televoters to choose from. So I think this will be more of kind of a 2015 situation when we have three main front runners. I'm thinking Sweden, Ukraine, and one of Italy or Spain. I think it will be something like more like that. these three are like the kind of runaway favorites, and then the rest maybe a little lower than that. So yeah, I definitely do think Sweden stands a very good chance of winning. They're currently third in the odds. I would put them up well, you obviously know I would put them up to first, but I think for now at least that's pretty reasonable. I think the percentage right now is like 13% or 14%, something like that, and I would say that's pretty reasonable. I would also say that Ukraine's percentage is kind of unreasonable, but I digress. Anyway, yeah, I do think that Sweden absolutely has what it takes to win Eurovision 2022, particularly given streaming figures, because while yes, indeed, Brividi is leading ahead with like what 70 million streams or something like that. While Hold Me Closer only has around 12 million streams. I think a lot of the streams from Brividi are mostly from either Mahmood fans, Blanco fans, or just general fans of Italian music. Personally, I don't stream too often. Even my favorites, I don't stream too often because I don't use Spotify that much. However, the fact that Cornelia Jacobs went from practically a nobody before Melodifestivalen, and now Sweden has the second most streamed song in the Eurovision 2022 roster, I think just really goes to show the impact that she has had, despite being, again, a nobody, even in Sweden to some extent, and now she's getting streams from all over the place. I've pulled up this tweet from late March when Hold Me Closer trended on Spotify viral, in particular 14th global, first in Finland, second Iceland, second Norway, second Spain, second Sweden, 9th Denmark, 10th Portugal, 13th Netherlands, 14th Belgium, 15th in Germany and Lithuania, 16th in Greece and Iceland, 17th in Poland, 22nd in Austria, 23rd in Romania, 29th in Estonia, 37th in Switzerland, and 39th in Israel. Wow, that is insane. And again, this just goes to show how much of an impact this can have on audiences no matter where they come from. And I think again, that kind of essence is really what's needed for a song to win, and I truly do believe that Sweden has what it takes to win the competition this year. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens. Of course, rehearsals can change everything, but I don't think Sweden will be changing their staging too much. Obviously, they aren't known to do that exactly. Again, like she said on the live stream, the green circle is going to Turin. So yeah, again, and another thing I wanted to say is that during the performance, it doesn't feel very rehearsed, unlike many of Sweden's previous songs. It's very natural. It feels unrehearsed, but in a very natural, very intentional way. And some people might say that's bad. But I think it really just goes to show the rawness of the song. This is probably the most raw performance of the year. So with that said, Sweden is my winner and the winner of numerous other Eurofans on Twitter and on the Eurovision scoreboard app. And I really do hope that Cornelia Jacobs in a month will be holding up that crystal trophy, and maybe we'll get Stockholm 2023 or Malmö 2023 again. I have been told that Gothenburg cannot host because the roof of the biggest arena isn't strong enough, I think, or something like that. So Stockholm 2023, Malmö 2023, we'll see you there. And that is my Eurovision 2022 top 15/16. Now, I might have said at the start of this video that I was gonna do a semifinals qualification video. However, I have a bunch of assignments and essays due in the next like 2 weeks or so, and I really need time to do those. So, unfortunately, I don't think I will do a semifinals qualification video. I'm probably gonna do like a little graphic of who I think will, could, and will not qualify, and then I'll tweet that on my Twitter account, BlueRigel4. As usual, you can find me on there. That's where I do most of my social media activity, and yeah, if you have anything you want to ask me about my top 40 list of Eurovision 2022, you can just tweet me there, or you can also just leave a comment here. I'll read comments here as well and respond to them. My next upload will probably just be the live stream of semifinal 1 of Eurovision 2022, because again, I have a lot of homework to do, and especially on semifinal 2 day, I actually have an exam, so I definitely won't be able to upload much during that period, and I think I can't upload much after Eurovision 2022 either, like directly after, because I have an exam like on the 21st or something like that. So expect more Eurovision 2022 content, during the 3 main days, but also probably the rest in June, where maybe I'll be talking about national finals and stuff like that. Regardless, if you don't want to miss my upcoming content, like the stuff I just mentioned, definitely subscribe, like this video if you enjoyed my commentary, and I'll see you next time.